I get to be back with you with another amazing being, Miss Carrie Wren, who I am going to give a nice intro to in just a moment. But first, if you are returning, so good to have you back. If you're new, this is Coaching Misunderstood. And this is a newer addition to what I've been doing with my solo series you might have seen, where whatever I shared on Tuesday, Carrie and I are going to break it down and talk about it here. And this is an unscripted conversation. It's much like an actual coaching conversation, where coaching is not about bringing your agenda. It's about co-creating. It's about dancing. And Carrie and I were just chatting about how we could have this same conversation 10 times with 10 different coaches, and it would look vastly different. So we're just here to channel in the moment, what's meant to come through us, what you're meant to hear. And we're going to be chatting about meeting yourself where you're at. If you guys see any flickering, I've got like this haunted little lamp where it's one of those ring lamps, and it just turns on and off sometimes. It changes color. So, I like to think that's because the energy is so amazing here.
I
And
dig it.
so just to give you a little idea of who I am with today, Carrie is a professional certified coach. Carrie and I actually both went through the same coaching program. She is a yoga educator, facilitator of teacher trainings and bucket list yoga retreats, travel devotee, adventure seeker, and puppy cuddler. I love that. She is committed to connection, empowered expression, and transformation for herself, her clients, and for the world. Carrie's superpowers include inspired curiosity and the willingness to be utterly delighted and in awe more often than not. And Carrie has shared a couple ways that you can follow her, connect with her, be with her, and whatever platform you're seeing this on, those will all be there for you to use as you would like. So welcome, Carrie. How are you today?
My gosh, I feel excited and grounded hearing that intro. Like, yep, yep, that sounds like me.
I love that because I think the person that I was talking to last week about something said the same thing. She was very empowered when I read her intro. She was like, dang, I'm a badass.
Well, like I write those words and I know that they represent me, but actually to hear them spoken out loud is like a whole other level of like, huh, I am feeling great. Thank you.
I love that. I love that you got that reflection. We've already gotten our first piece of gold together. So y'all, as I mentioned, this is unscripted. Carrie and I are just going to dance and flow with whatever comes up. But the premise is really to hold the field of coaching in integrity. It's very unregulated. It's largely pretty still, I would consider a new field. And, some of us joke, we call it the Wild West of coaching.
It is the Wild West out there, y'all.
Yep. And what I've found is why these series are important to me is as someone who might want to be a coach or to hire a coach, it makes it hard for you. You don't know what coaching really is. You don't know what coaching isn't. You don't know where to look. Maybe it's challenging. And if you are a coach, maybe you don't know that there's different types of coaching out there. And so, Carrie and I are both trained ontologically, so we might have a little bit of that lens that we look through, which is, bringing the beingness to it. But we kind of play and we dance everywhere. So, Carrie, I didn't really give you anything before coming into this except for a theme.
I'm excited though, just with that. And I was thinking about this earlier this morning of I'm excited to talk with you, a coach that I respect and hold in integrity about coaching, which is one of my favorite things in the whole world. So whatever it is that comes out of our mouths and spirits and yeah, let's play.
I love that. And so you all, like, if you haven't gotten it yet, because this is actually only the third episode, I think what you're going to find is we love our field.
Love
We
it.
love our field. Um, not only do we serve our community with coaching, but we are also recipients of coaching. So we get the power on both ends and we do the work that we talk about.
I actually was thinking about that on a walk this morning. I try and take a walk most days. That has been like one of the gifts of hashtag pandemic life for me, is walking all the time. You and I have taken a walk a time or
Mhm.
two. And I was thinking about, because on my walk, sometimes I'll listen to the birds and talk to my dog, and a lot of times though I'll have a podcast, and it's usually a podcast about coaching, and just thinking about like choosing, like electing to spend my free time in personal development work and in kind of continuing education and receiving, is that's like one of my favorite things, and that we get to um, be fuller as coaches. I mean, as humans and as coaches, because of like opting into that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, yeah.
I love that. And so I always like to fiddle with that and get just so y'all are going to have some real fun backdrop coming soon. So this topic of meeting yourself where you're at. So y'all just take a moment to really like drink that in, right? We're talking about how coaching is a tool to meet yourself where you're at. I think that probably brings up something for each of us. But Carrie, just when you maybe read the topic we were going to talk about, maybe this morning as we're here and you're thinking, does anything come up for you right away when we start to think about like, wow, this work that we give, this work that we receive, it's a tool to support us in meeting ourselves where we're at.
I have a lot to say. There's a lot that comes up just right off of the bat, and I'll share some things if you'd like, and you can direct me as it serves the conversation. Um, so the very first thing that comes up when you say that coaching is a tool for meeting ourselves where we're at is relief,
Mm.
followed by a little bit of confusion. And the confusion piece is that, and I see like a little smile on your face there. You may be able to read my mind. But the confusion part is that this is absolutely a generalization, is that we are taught culturally and socially, and sometimes through our upbringing, that, I mean, just to put it out there, that there's something wrong with us, or that there's something that we need to fix about ourselves to be acceptable, to be lovable or loved, to belong. And actually, I'm getting chills saying that. Like that's kind of the both the overt and kind of the undercover messaging that I think a lot of us have received, do receive.
Yeah.
And so then to hear that, wait, like meeting myself where I'm at, like, is this a trick? Is, but there's like, I have like a whole, I feel like people are, have a whole list of these are the things about me that need to be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll just maybe pause there and like, I'm interested in any reflections that you have about that.
Well, I would say I'm giggling over here because I literally had a coaching session with a client before you and I hopped on here. And where it started was, I don't even know what I'm doing here today. And then where it went was, I have no energy, I have no motivation, and problems. And I was like, well, I'm just listening, and I just hear maybe someone who's a little tired right now, not super motivated right now, and I'm not present to problems, and I'm not present to anything being wrong. And so that reminded me of what you said. And that opened up a completely other direction, because she was like, oh. So I was like,
What?
what if none of these things were problems? Then what? And she's like,
Yeah.
oh.
I think that's a little, are we allowed to curse on this
Oh, I love it. Every single
podcast?
session, someone has asked that
Okay.
permission. So y'all, I guess we like to be passionate in our speaking. Yes.
Okay,
I
great.
put it on YouTube. I put it's not for kids.
Okay, great. Because the first thing that comes to mind is like the record stops, there's a screech, and it's like a mind fuck.
Yeah.
Like, wait, if I have no problems, or if these things that I perceive as problems are not problems, then what? Well, then, right, like then what? And I think for, again, for some of us, we're so trained to be like fighting fires and taking care of the problems, that it's the same things. I feel tired. My motivation is not here. If it's not a problem, there's literally, it's like, again, first thought, my mind is blank. I have no idea what to do then. Second thought is like limitless possibility. In the absence of problems, anything is possible.
Yes. And I love that, because she knew that. And that was why there were all those problems, right? Didn't really quite want to be with that.
Oh, okay. Ooh, okay. I have a question for you, if
Ooh,
you're open.
yeah.
So then, what do you, in your experience, what do you think it is that has us resist being with possibility? The possibility in particular that exists when we stop distracting ourselves with our problems.
Ooh. Well, I think it kind of goes down to the Marianne Williamson stuff, right? Where she talks about how we're more afraid of our light. And I think what I also, at least what I noticed in this specific conversation is, when we were really meeting her where she was at, what we really dug into was, she was operating from a place of such toxic masculinity that she was completely and utterly exhausted. Like do, right? And the inner feminine had no voice, no space. And so her fear of the possibility, and y'all, I'm kind of sharing a real life example from this morning so you can actually see how it looks as I'm answering Carrie, because I think it's different when she and I are in these conversations all the time. We want to really paint it for you. But she was already so tired out that when she was thinking about the possibility that she wanted, she didn't even know how to have the energy to do it. And so for her, it was that. And I know I can say for myself, that's also been the case when I haven't had all the access that I do now to my feminine. And I will say, work in progress. But I think for most of us, we're scared of the possibility.
I have a thing that I feel compelled to interject.
Please.
So when you say like having access to your masculine, having access to your feminine, I want to let folks know it's actually like, it doesn't have anything to do with gender. That
Exactly.
you're actually like, you're describing a type of energy, and we could use this actually yin yang
Yep.
or solar lunar, and it all kind of means the same thing, is that it's language placed around like an energetic archetype, maybe something like that.
Yes, yes. Thank you for plugging that in. So y'all, great information if you were kind of wondering a little bit more about that. And what we're pointing to is like each human being has access to all, but living in our culture, we've kind of gotten pushed into some areas more easily than others.
Mm, mhm. Okay, so we've established that we tend to fear possibility,
Mm,
which is this, it's one of those like quirky, kinky things about being human. Um, like on the surface, it would seem like, what's to fear? That's great.
right?
But that quirky kind of part of us is, really gets tangled up around that. Um, yeah.
I love that because I think I actually might have at one point did an actual coaching misunderstood episode about how coaching is a tool to access possibility. And that's the cool thing, right? Because we're co-creating and dancing, you can see like how many areas were like overlapping and like all the rabbit holes you could go down in this conversation. They're infinite.
I love a rabbit hole. My clients also know about me. I love a good rabbit hole. It always goes
Me
someplace
too.
interesting.
Me too.
Oh, yeah. So, okay, so we're meeting ourselves where we're at. If there's nothing to fix, then what? And the thing is that there's this gift of accepting ourselves, and like even those parts of ourselves that we resist, or that we or someone else have labeled as bad or not acceptable, or another way, some other language to put around that is like our shadows,
Mhm.
the parts of ourselves. I think of our being as, like there's all of these different kind of roles and sort of characters and archetypes and things that make us the whole of who we are. And some of those parts get pushed to the side, or like hidden, or um, in some other way unreconciled. And so, it leads to a lot of like, on the on the minor end, it leads to like some agitation or frustration. And on the other end, it can lead to a lot of like shame.
Mhm.
And so then what's available to us when the whole cast of characters and all of our parts and pieces actually get welcomed and get to belong?
Yeah, and what's kind of coming up for me as you're sharing that is like, wow, it kind of explains sometimes, I think, maybe why we experience a stuckness. Because some of the stuff you're mentioning, we can do a really good job of tucking it away. And so, how do you meet yourself where you're at when you're not even present to where you're actually at?
Yeah, the presence piece is a big one. And that's something that a lot of folks that I work with are working on or wish to experience, is that presence. Um, and what tends to be in the way is a lot of like avoiding or distracting or numbing. Yeah, and so it's really, and those are just habits and ways of living that we've developed. And so it's like shifting out of that, and then and then presence is available. And from presence, at least what I've seen is deeper connections with people that we love, access to gratitude, um, like, and just being, like you used that word earlier, being. Um, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot available. And it actually reminds me, and I'll share an experience I had yesterday, because I know for many of the folks, it can help to have that experience painted. But as I was sharing with Carrie before we started recording, I had gotten my phone's vibrating. It always distracts me. I gotta make it stop. I was sharing that I had gotten my second vaccine yesterday, and it's just left me kind of, tired, sore. And I teach a yoga class every Tuesday night. And so, it's kind of starting to feel differently as the class is approaching, so I'm in that conversation, right? Like, do I cancel? Do I not? And the conversation for me was really about, if I meet myself where I'm at, what does that look like? And so, and I loved it because I shared it with one of my students, and she was like, I have compassion for where you're at, but I'm so glad you found a way to make it work. So I got there and I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to take the class with you. The guided visualization that I sprinkle in, I am not going to. I am going to put you in your pose. We're going to stay there extra long. I'm not going to speak. We're going to listen to shamanic drumming. And I'm going to trust that you need to not hear me tonight. And you need to be in stillness, and you need to be in quiet. And you know what? If that doesn't work, that was the only way I could find a way to meet myself where I'm at and teach the class. So it is what it is. Here I am. And it was really cool, because what I noticed was there would have been a time that it would have just been cancel. There wouldn't have been any curiosity about a new way, about, if I meet myself where I'm at, can I still do it? And so, I felt cared for, and I still showed up to teach.
I just got so much out of that share. May I
Yay!
reflect some things back?
Yeah.
Gosh. Okay. So the yeah, that was actually really rich. Okay. So what I heard is that meeting yourself where you were, um, allowed you to step out of any kind of like performance role or perfectionism or expectation about it having to go a certain way or look a certain way.
Yes.
Um, and you mentioned trust as well, like trusting that. And this is, again, this is can be kind of a mind fuck, is like, what if these circumstances of you not feeling great, um, actually served some kind of purpose or resulted in some kind of gift for you and for your students, that you got to be with the sweetness of the practice and receive the practice for yourself, and trusting that, what if this was like the best possible outcome for your students, the way that it went.
Yes.
Isn't that wild?
Mhm. And you know what it was, because I got a text after, and it was like, that's exactly what I needed.
I
I was
figure.
inviting people into things when they were already going there. And, and I really just got the sense, because it was funny. I reached out to one of my friends who I know on Monday had been a little bit stressed out. And I said, if it helps to know, Tuesday's class is going to be really restorative. I just felt called to share that if you need another tool. And then I really got present to, you know what? It's going to take restorative to a whole new level, because my being is just in a more like, I don't want to say relaxed state, restful state. Maybe that's the word. I'm not sure. But my energy was lower, not in a bad way, right? It was just
Mhm.
slower. So maybe even more like yin than normal.
Mm. Mhm. Even the way that you interpreted just now, you said my energy was lower and not in a bad way. Like when we can take the labels off of like, if my energy is this, that is good. If my energy
Right.
is this, is bad or subpar. Um, and actually just taking those labels away allows for a whole other freedom of experience.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, to me, that is a huge part of meeting yourself where you're at. Because, I think the labels are a big part of what make us want to resist it. Because it's not good. It's not right. It's bad. And we don't want to be
Mhm.
with that perception, but it's not even real.
Mhm. Mhm. I'm just gonna shift over because this light, which I am in love with, is starting to come into the side of my eyeball. So just gonna
Ah,
shift that. Um, Here's another thing that I was thinking about that I'm interested in your thoughts on, and
yeah.
I think that people might find interesting is all right. So as coaches, we are typically part of our work is around supporting people in creating something in the future.
Mhm,
And so, like, a really like to overly simplify it, let's call it a goal. There's
mhm,
something someone wants to create in their life or relationship or business or whatever. And that's the future thing. And we are supporting them and, you know, taking out the obstacles to get there and to day by day um, move from here to there.
mhm,
The thing that can, like, the really subtle but powerful distinction is in meeting ourselves where we are, is meeting ourselves where we are every single day in evolution or in the transformation of things along the way. Otherwise, it's like there's this thing out here in the future that we want, and every step along the way is a deficit. Like, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. So there's like this whole, weeks or months or years that I'm in a deficit and not there.
mhm.
Does that make sense? Or do you have another way that would be helpful to explain that?
Um, so kind of talking about like that gap in between here and where we are.
Right, right. Yes. Hmm.
Well, I would call the gap normal. And I always 'cause I work with clients who are very similar to me, like many of us do. And I'm kind of a lifer when it comes to this stuff. I've just always been this way. I love to learn, I love to be in the conversation. It's always been some form of something ever since, I was a kid. It's just who I am. And so, what I always tell people is, if you're committed to just continuing to move forward on your own journey, no matter how that looks, there's just always going to be a gap there. It's always going to be there.
Yeah. And that the process is, I hesitate to use this word, but perfect. Like um, the process is the process, and there's not something wrong with us throughout until we've met that goal. It's that we're in the process of it, of creating it. Like, we're in the process of creation all the time.
Yeah, and I think, and this would certainly depend on the type of coaching that's being delivered or received. But I think, certain types of coaching, certainly do stay a little bit more surface level. Nothing wrong with that. It's just a way to coach. And I think with our training, it's getting, deeper in and digging and transforming. And what I come to find through my own journey and other people's journey, and I'm glad you explained the masculine and feminine, because y'all, if you imagine, an egg and a sperm, right? They come together to create. Like that's kind of how masculine and feminine energy is. It's just coming together to create. And I find a lot of people, whether they're talking about it in coaching or don't have words to it yet, we're really learning how to flow with those energy bodies, the sun, the solar, the yin, the yang, the shadow, the light, the masculine, the feminine. And, very often with a lot of my clients, it looks like, that toxic masculine energy driving everything, and they're not really being a place for the feminine. So I think very often too, people are learning like, oh, okay, when I get the idea for the thing, I back up and I maybe let like intuition guide, and then maybe I move. And so I think people just learn like, okay, like for me, I thought it was a really big gift that I could make a choice like that. And then I've come to find out that it's really nothing special. And it's just another flavor of my masculine wanting to take everything and run really fast with it right away. And so there wasn't enough space to actually process it and be with it. It's so interesting.
Mhm. Mhm. I actually have, where is this post-it note? Here it is. You may be like me and you like live by post-it notes and things that come up in coaching sessions because, to speak to this co-creation,
Yep.
my clients say the most brilliant things. It is amazing. So I was in a conversation, a coaching call yesterday with a client, and she used these three words right in a row, and I had to write it down. She said permission, giving herself permission, trust, trusting herself and something bigger, and surrender.
Mm.
I'm gonna put those in the yin slash lunar slash uh, feminine, if we're gonna give it some language. Permission, trust, and surrender. And that's a whole other, like, we might need to come back to that on another
I know,
day.
right? That's what happens with these. They just birth more.
Right. Right. And it's, it really is a pretty those are foreign concepts for a lot of us.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And so for anyone who these are, if anything we're saying is a really foreign concept, just trust and pull out the things that are meant for you today. And, whenever I get to hear things, if I don't quite understand the vernacular yet, or maybe I'm not far enough in my own process to be able to see it, there always comes a time where something happens. I'm like, that's what they were talking about. Okay, now I'm going to go back and receive it again because, oh my goodness.
yeah. Yeah. And also, we welcome questions like, send Jen a question or me, or um, do some research if there's something that sparks your heart. I also, so I co-facilitate a coaching group of women, and of different backgrounds, and some people have been in this coaching work for a long time, and some people are quite new to it. And one of the folks who is new to it used this, she called us out a little bit. She was like, it's like you're speaking a foreign language. She said it's like muggle speak, and I have no idea what you're saying sometimes. I
Mostly.
was like, fair, noted. You are, yes, absolutely. Let's figure out how to have this be accessible and make sense. And there are different, entry points and things that we do with the same teachings and information. And oh my gosh, what if it's all perfect?
And what I love about that share is what a great example of her meeting herself where she's at, right? She
Yes.
wasn't wrong for not understanding what you were talking about. She just said, hey, for where I'm at with my understanding of language, you're speaking Muggle. Okay, I feel like I'm at
Mm-hmm.
Hogwarts right now.
Mm-hmm. And from there, from meeting herself there and calling it out, she was able to make a request and get her
Yes.
needs met, which again, that is a whole other conversation. When we identify, when we acknowledge a thing and our needs and make a request, like we have an opportunity to get our needs met.
Yeah. Well, that actually reminds me of the story I shared about teaching last night, right? Because
Yeah.
that was really a conversation about meeting myself where I'm at. What do I need to still show up and do this? So it was really a needs conversation. And so I think very often the conversation of meeting ourselves where we're at, it can be a needs conversation.
Jen, I am about to enter another rabbit hole with you. I just want to let you know it's coming. Broad generalization again, and noted from, some decades of time in our culture. Um, a lot of us don't know that we're allowed to have needs. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, actually, just that we don't know. And as a woman, uh, I I was trained, I guess, culturally or through different relationships, that to have needs is to be needy, and needy is undesirable and bad. And so then, like, we're telling these people, you get to have your needs. Not only do you get to have your needs, you get to say them out loud and you get to request that they be met.
Yes, that's beautiful. So y'all, meeting yourself where you're at is also a needs conversation. For real. Gosh, I remember knowing that it was normal to have needs pre-work, but thinking I was very powerful because I didn't need as much as others. And y'all, I did need as much as others. I just shoved the needs down. Oh, I used to say I'm a robot. I don't need all those things. I can go without. Like, I was proud of my ability to go without and do without
Wow.
and power through. And I would look around and I'd be like, wimps, I'm so much more powerful. That's where I got my power from, was not having needs or stuffing them down, which, as you probably all listening know, even if you're not a coach, that's not power, right?
My look, it's a warm day in the South and I just got chills all over my arms. That really hit me.
Yeah, right. And so I could never meet myself where I was at because I was never honest with where I was at. I'm fine.
Mm.
It's fine. We're good. It's always fine and good here. What do you mean?
So, okay, on the surface, Jen, it was fine and good. Had a feeling that you were getting your power. What was the actual impact?
Oh gosh, and some of you have watching this have been around me for a long time, even pre-work. So much anger, so
Mm.
much anger. For me, it was lots and lots and lots of anger. And mostly when we broke it down, right, it was towards myself for not allowing myself to have the needs. And there was a little child in there who was really tired, just wanted to chill and play. Yeah, this is amazing. Like, what I'm finding is, now that you and I are talking about this, meeting yourself where you're at is such a conversation about self-care, self-love, and needs.
Mhm. Mm. Yeah, I have another post-it right here. It's about resentment. Um, And when you said like the impact of pretending to not have needs, or tricking yourself into even into um, thinking you didn't have needs, and that anger was the result. There's this, I've noticed this very particular flavor of anger called resentment
Yep.
that
Yep.
that happens particularly around not getting our needs met. And it tends to show up as like towards other people. Um, and what this post-it note says, it says resentment is owned by the person who has it. It's not actually about the other person.
Oh, I love that. And Carrie, I want to be mindful of our time. So I'll check in just a second, but I do want to share what that made me think of. And y'all, I'm using myself as a little guinea pig today, just putting myself under the light so you can get some more solid ideas about what we're talking about. But Carrie, what you just shared reminded me of when I was going down my own rabbit hole of self-inquiry yesterday evening. I noticed that old feeling of that type of anger that we are talking about building. And when I checked in, I realized you're a little bit late getting something to your branding and marketing person. They need that from you to do their job. You feel like you should do it now, so you're trying to make yourself do it now. You're not in a place to do it now. And so I sat back and I got out my book, The Mists of Avalon, and I started reading my book. And my soul was immediately like, yay. And I was like, oh, you're just angry because you don't want to do that. And you're trying to force yourself. So y'all, it's okay to try on different things. I had to step out of that and try on something new. And that's when I said, we're just going to read books and teach a yoga class. And that is all, folks. And sleep. And that's all we'll do today. So that's exactly what I thought of when you said that.
There's that permission showing up again. Like, I give myself permission to read books, and that's enough.
So you all can, if you can even see in the conversation, Carrie and I are, we are going to wrap up because I know she and I are at time.
Let me just say here and now, I could talk about this with you for,
I know, right?
Probably ever. So
I know, right? And you guys can see how the way it moves and morphs, we literally could be here forever. And I think the beautiful thing about this is how a coaching conversation actually goes. The way I describe it is you pull threads, and if that blanket's ready to come unthreaded, you keep pulling. And if it's a little stubborn and you can't get anywhere, maybe you go try this blanket. But ultimately, it's just following what there is to follow and seeing what sparks what. I feel like our conversation illustrated that more than any of them so far.
Let's, and I actually, I'm cognizant that I totally interrupted you. I just got so excited. Okay. Coaching can be fun. Like it's deep work, and it's really impactful work. And it can also be a good time. So just know.
So y'all, if you are interested in, ever working with a coach, please know that it's really about connecting to all the emotions. So while you may feel some of those feels that you've tried so hard to shove down and they come up, you get to feel all the silliness and the joy and the amazement and the miracles and all that, even more too. And that's really, really, really worth it. Transformation can and will be fun if you're partnering with the aligned coach for you.
Beautiful.
All right. So y'all, we're going to wrap it up because I know Carrie and I have other things on our calendar too. And we are committed to honoring our integrity and being on time and staying in our flow. But what I really want to again say is whatever stood out for you in our conversation, that's the thing for you. What you may not have understood, resonated with, that's not for you. That's for you to just leave and don't worry about. Maybe you come back to it later. As always, if you know anyone who's interested in working with a coach, who is interested in becoming a coach, please share this with them. I don't know that many other places where, you can just find like people talking, coaches talking about coaching and kind of coaching while they're talking about coaching. Inadvertently that happens. But, it's, and as Carrie mentioned, we're here to answer questions. We're here to share programs with you. If you're interested in working with a coach, and it's not us, we know so many colleagues out there. But we are here for the conversation, as you can see. So reach out to me, reach out to Carrie, and let's keep the energy of this going. Because when I imagine a world where more of us are meeting ourselves where we're at, that world is luscious.
Oh my God. Let's create that world. Let's do
create
that.
world.
Mm.
Sister, is there any last little trinkets of your heart? Never said that before. I'm not quite sure what a trinket of the heart is, but I like it, so I'm going to go with it. Does your heart have any trinkets it would like to share on its way out as we complete our conversation?
Oh yeah, my heart does have a trinket for you, in fact. And that is that I just really appreciate co-creating this with you, and I trust that folks will get something that they need from it. Yeah, reach out to us. We're here for all of these conversations. Yeah, and thanks, Jen, for this service. This is really a beautiful gift to the coaching profession.
Thank you for being a yes, sharing yourself, partnering with me, and I mean, really just coming together and having a good time.
It has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And to all of you, thank you for being a part of this conversation. Love each of you so very much.